Hello everyone and welcome to today's video. Today I'm reviewing an ink and this is an ink from the brand Venvstas. Now Venvstas is an Italian brand who have come into a bit of attention recently for their carbon fiber pens and their really interesting designs. Well, they've released a range of fountain pen inks, a range of 10 colors at this stage, and I have one of them here today to look at, and that one I'm looking at is Fumo di Londra, which is London smoke. So it comes beautifully packaged, very typical of Venvstas, in this black cardboard with nice print on it. The bottle itself is very good. It's glass and has a aluminium cap, so there's as little plastic waste as possible, which is what they're really keen on. Simple labels, nice sort of size opening. Most pens, will be able to fill from that, at least until the bottle starts to get a little bit empty. It's sturdy on the table, but it's also a good looking bottle, I think. That nice sort of simple shape and classic design. So let's look at the ink. Here is the ink on some simple cardstock. You can see it is a nice shading grey with a touch of blue that comes through, which is really pretty. And I think it's a really nice color. It's simple. It's not a fancy ink, like no shimmer, nothing like that. But it does a beautiful job with its shading and that basic color of it. Here is the ink on Tomoe River paper. This is 68 gram Tomoe River paper. It's in a Bond Travel Gear notebook, which isn't made anymore, but we do know this paper. So let's talk about this ink. Firstly, I had it in two pens, two TWSBI Goes here, a broad and an extra fine, so we get a good sense of what this ink looks like. 5 points about this ink. First is that it is mixable. So there are 10 colors in the range, and they are all made so that you can mix them and create your own shades. There are a good range of blues, oranges, browns, typical sort of fountain pen ink colors, and you can mix them to make your own color. Second point is it's Italian, and nowhere does it say, have I been able to find who actually manufactures the ink, but they are very proudly saying an Italian ink brand. The next point is that there is a lovely depth of color here. So if we look back at that card, you can see this lovely light gray shading, and then you get this beautiful dark gray, and then there's sort of hits of blue through here, and maybe even like touches of sort of purple in some of that gray. Lots going on there, which is really nice. Fourth point is it's not slow, but it does have a long dry time. If you're using it in a wet nib on paper like Tomoe River, it does take a bit of time to dry. It's not a quick drying ink at all. And then the last one is it's recyclable packaging, and this is a point they make as well. Like, the packaging is cardboard, the outer packaging, and the bottle itself is glass and aluminium. So these are recyclable products. There's no plastic involved here. Let's talk about performance. I've said it's got a nice flow, which is true. It does. It writes nicely. It's a slightly wet ink. There is a fair amount of bleed and feather on low-end paper, which we'll see in a second. But in the broader nib here, really great shading. Love this shading. Even sometimes a little too much shading, like it goes just a little bit too light. And there are no issues on good quality paper. So if you're just writing on Tomoe River, Rhodia, Clairefontaine, like Optic and that kind of stuff, you're not going to have an issue with this ink. Extras, I've said excellent shade, but there is no sheen or shimmer. But there is some water resistance. So if we look at the water resistance test here, you can see so much of it is left. You can easily see every detail that was left, and it's a slightly grayer, light grey quality, but there is certainly enough that if you got your page wet, that is just water, but if you got your page wet, you would be able to make it out. Let's see how it performs on these papers. So firstly, here is, Tomoe River paper, so you can expect nothing has sort of come through. It performs well. There is ghosting, of course, but that is the paper, but nothing has come through, and it holds a nice tight line, but with both the extra fine and the broader nib. Then on Rhodia, you see the shading is still beautiful. Nice tight lines still. The swab there, lots of depth of color and lots of sort of shading. Performs well with both, but as you can see with the wetter broad nib, it moves a lot of ink, so the dry time is slightly slower. on our everyday printer paper here, you see the color is super washed out. Super washed out. Light gray, nothing more, but still fairly wet. It does start to feather here a little bit, I think we can see. And then if we look at the reverse, there's quite a lot of bleed, particularly in the wetter broad nib. It's not handling this paper well. And unfortunately, this trend continues when we look at it, as you would expect, on the low-end student note paper. Lots of feathering, not lots of feathering, but more than, you know, more than ideal. And super washed out, and then the bleed is once again fairly pronounced. If we look at the chromatography here, you can see where some of this water resistance sort of comes from. Left behind is a really interesting sort of purple grey, and then it moves right up into that bright blue. There's a lot sort of going on here. There's hints of orange and yellow in the middle there. But what I found really interesting is unlike a lot of inks, is when I put the line on the paper here, the filter paper, it instantly spread and color, like split into colors. So instantly you had hits of the purple and then blue around the outside. So the viscosity, I think, of the ink and the dyes is quite low, which gives it that sort of wet appearance on the page and that slightly longer dry time. If we look at a couple of color comparisons here, I've put it alongside Earl Grey from Diamine, which is one of the Reddit collaborated colors. I think it's got some interesting partnership in there. Earl Grey has a little bit more of that purpley blue than Venvstas, and then Robert Oster Grey Seas, which I wanted to capture some of the blue from this and I couldn't quite get it in here, but there are, like, if I can't quite see if it will make it out on the camera, but on the edge of the lighter shading you get that underlying kind of blue in it. So it does have a blue in there. It's sort of, I wouldn't say it's a blue grey, but I would say there is blue in the grey. So how much does this ink cost? As I said, it's a 50ml bottle, and it is a nice bottle. In the US, this retails for $21.95 US. Not too bad. Or it can be bought from Venvstas for €15. So I don't think it's a terribly priced ink. I think it's got a good place in the market. It's not a cheap ink, but they are not a Diamine or a, you know, or a Lamy producing hundreds of bottles, thousands and thousands of bottles of each of their ink. They are still a relatively boutique manufacturer. The score I've given this is 4 out of 5. I love the color a lot. It has nice shade, decent water resistance, good performance on good paper, writes really, really well. The only issue is its performance on lower quality paper. So if you are a fountain pen user who has control over the paper they write with, I think this ink would be a lovely addition if you're looking for like this kind of grey. If you are stuck to writing on the the printer paper that your office provides, go an absolute finer nib. It'll perform better. You just won't get some of the depth of this color. So I hope you found this video about the Venvstas Fumo di Londra ink interesting and useful. If you did, give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Hit the notifications button if you want to stay up to date with the videos that I produce. Please feel free to get in touch using any of the platforms listed below. You can find me on Instagram or Twitter at @the_offstage_me, or you can contact me on any of my videos here, or drop me an email, which is listed down below. If you've got products you think I should be looking at, or if there's a way you'd like to support the channel by sponsoring a review or providing an item for review, like Venvstas did by providing this ink for review, I would love to hear from you. In the meantime, enjoy your pens, enjoy your ink, and I'll talk to you soon.